Hi everyone, hello. So I think we're live, are we? Yeah, we are. All
Welcome.
right. So,
Yes, now we are live.
yeah.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our community corner. So, my name is Shirin. I'm one of the course tutors, and I'm here together with Melissa. Hi, Melissa. How are you?
Oh, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, I'm really good. I'm excited to for this type of live session because it's a bit different from the others, right? It's community corner. Maybe you can tell us what that is, Shirin.
Yeah, it's a space where we connect with our community to share ideas, hear your voice, share your voice, highlight some inspiring stories. And today's topic is about inclusive classrooms. And whether you are here to learn, ask, or to contribute, you're in the right place. And we will be highlighting some very interesting conversations from our community here. So, what is the agenda for today? So, let's start then. So, yeah, what was the first item that we wanted to highlight from the community, Melissa?
I think we started with a post last week, and yeah, it was kind of an introduction to anyone who is interested in inclusive classrooms and to anyone who's doing the course. And we asked, well, we didn't ask, we gave a sentence and it said, "My classroom becomes more inclusive when I dot dot dot," and we asked all our community members to try to finish this sentence. We got so many different answers, so thank you to everyone who answered. How would you finish this if you're watching today? Tell us, write a comment. But we'll tell you what people answered last week when we asked them this. So yeah, let's go to some nice comments from our community.
So I can see Indriati's comments. I mean, all of the comments are really covering because this is such a broad area. And we try to
Mhm.
pick some comments that cover different aspects of inclusion so that we can actually come up with our own definition. So Indriati mentions, my classroom becomes more inclusive when I pay attention to how the learners feel and learn. I try to speak clearly, especially when giving instructions, use visual support, and give them time to respond. I also make sure they can work with friends who support them. So many items, so many useful tips here about clear instructions, visual aids, creating a supportive peer work, and attention to feelings, most importantly. So, yeah, so many highlights to learn from your post in reality. Would you like to
Mhm.
comment on any of these, Melissa?
Yeah, I mean, I read another one that, I mean, they start to overlap actually. People start to say the same things. And there was a comment after Indriyati from Antara, and Antara says, "My classroom becomes more inclusive when I ask them, ask my learners if they have other perspectives to share, even if they think it might be different from the pursued line of thought." Um, and it actually connects to what Ingiati said, because it's about considering other people's feelings, thinking about feelings, thinking about your peers in the classroom. So yeah, I liked that one. I really liked that idea. So thanks, Antara. Thanks, Indriati. Aha. Um, and yeah, were there
Now,
any others that you liked, Shin?
yeah, Nazia has a comment. So she says, when I design activities, I keep students' interest in mind and the fun they want while learning and understanding. So it's about
Mhm.
designing interest-based activities. So as Nazia says, when learning is enjoyable, connected to learners' interest in inclusion becomes naturally. So it's a great reminder that engagement is the key to help learners feel that they belong. And we will discuss more about how to understand learners' needs and interests later on in this slide. But this was also a very nice post. So, any other post, any other comments?
Yeah, there was another one that connects to Nasia about, designing with the students' interests in mind. And Rachna talks about shy learners. And Rachna said, my classroom becomes inclusive when I give everyone the chance to respond. Even the shy ones are encouraged to talk. So again, she's going back to that idea that Indiati gave about including everyone. And she's thinking specifically about shy learners. And and actually then we had a nice little interaction between two community members because Antara also replied and then talked about shy learners. Will I tell you what she said? Uh,
Yeah.
she said, I want to share a couple of instances of working with shy learners. Um, and she said that a shy learner really loved to take part in activity but didn't want to initiate. And then fellow learners egged her on to eventually share, and then it become learner led. Um, and they extended the discussions. So, it sounds like Antara is working on inclusion as a teacher, but also working on inclusion as part of class culture, and the peers are interested in it. So, yeah, that was really, really nice to read. So, thank you for being honest and sharing, Antara. We enjoyed reading that.
Yes, and it's wonderful to see how those small nudges, small supports can spark
Yeah.
some meaningful interaction, whether from peers or from a supportive teacher. I think that's
Hmm.
community as a whole. So Typhoon also has a comment. He says, "My
Hmm.
classroom becomes inclusive, and I make competition, especially while teaching vocabulary." Yeah, I mean, as long as we take into consideration that the um, our learners understands the instructions, right? That brings us nicely to the next topic. So, what
Yeah.
are the techniques that we use? For example, if we want to play a game and we want to make sure that it's inclusive and all our learners are taking an active part, not just
Hmm.
small group of learners.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
uh, this is what we would like to bring now your attention to some comments from the community. So
Yeah.
any
We,
comments?
we asked we asked last week, we got some comments, and actually when we asked, we put some in two activities, two techniques from the course. And those were think, pair, share, and three before me. Those were two nice activities that were mentioned in the course, and then some community members talked about their own activities. But first of all, what are these two activities? I think we should explain to everyone watching. Um, think, pair, share, three before me. Do you use these, Shirin? Are these common in your classes?
Yes, it's think pair share is one of the um, mm, favorite ways to
Okay.
involve students because they first think, as the name suggests, and they share with the person sitting next to them or pair. They be
Mhm.
paired, and this gives them a chance to uh, formulate or think about. This gives them some thinking time to expand their answers.
Mhm.
They learn from their peers. This builds confidence before they share with the whole class. And there could be
Mhm.
different versions, even think, write, share. So
Oh,
could be think
yeah.
there. So it could be also done in different ways. But what about the other
Mhm.
one? Think before me. I didn't know this, so maybe you can
To be
explain us.
honest, yeah, I didn't know it before doing the Inclusive Classrooms course, actually. Three before me. And there was a trainer, Susan Gordon, who talks about this. So if you're doing the course, you'll see it in module two. So, three before me is about training learners to get help from people around them and not just come straight to you, the teacher, which is important if you've got a big class, right? So, three before me is that you always ask learners to do three things before coming to me. I'm the teacher. So the three things could do think on your own first. It could be think, pair, share, actually, like talk to your partner, try and get an idea, or use the book. Look back at last week's vocabulary. Look back in the textbook at the explanation. So try three things before you come to the teacher to I guess it's about learning to be independent, right? And use the other people in the class like resources. Yeah, I had never used it, but I mean, I really want to. Hmm.
That's excellent. Yes, it's about also learner autonomy, which is the
Yeah.
ultimate aim we would like to achieve in our classrooms. Because yes, I mean,
Mhm.
that's also part of inclusion. So to make them feel that they can actually achieve on their own with the help of their
Yeah.
peers. Um, There was also one other comment from Rashna about
Yeah.
adapting and readapting materials. And
Mhm.
she says, omit, re-emphasize, delete, prioritize your tasks as per the learner's needs, styles,
Mhm.
interests, and learning preferences.
Mhm.
So thank you, Rashna. So adapting materials is such a practical approach.
Yeah.
And so, how, as you are also designing materials, Melissa, how
Mhm.
can we adapt materials then to make them more inclusive? So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's an area I'm really, really interested in. I work on some of the lesson plans on the Teaching English site, and we're always trying to find photos which include a variety of types of students.
Mhm.
So students from different countries, students different ethnicities, thinking about do we have enough male, females in the picture? Um, if we're doing a lesson plan on something like sport, we make sure that there are some inspirational women included in that, and not just men, some maybe an athlete with a disability. So trying to adapt to show that there are just lots of different types of people in the world. And that's one way to adapt activities, is think about, do the materials represent the people in my
Mm.
class? It could be really simple, like if the vocabulary list about sport, I'm thinking about sport because it's on my mind because I'm teaching it at the moment. If your students don't ever or are never going to play ice hockey because it's not
Mm.
something that happens in your country, just take it out the list. Add something that they will do so that it's when they're talking about their own lives, they're able to contribute. So, I mean, that's some little simple things you can think
Mhm.
about. Rashna actually talked about a bit more. She says you can prioritize tasks according
Mm.
to the learner's needs and learner's preferences. And that's a good point too. If
Mm.
you think that your learners don't need to work a lot on a particular reading text because they found out about that before, then I mean, feel free to replace it and put something
Yeah.
else that you think might interest them. Yeah,
Eh,
or ask them as
yeah.
well.
Or we may need to simplify the language or
Yeah.
maybe offer choice in tasks so we can just make some adaptations, break the content maybe into smaller tasks or
Hmm.
allow them some extra time. So what reminds me when I hear all of these ideas, we don't have to be an expert in inclusion to make our
Yeah.
classrooms more inclusive. As teachers, we can start with those kinds of small, thoughtful adjustments, and they can make a big difference for all learners, not just learners with some needs. So, I heard a quote somewhere. I just want to share it. So it's like
Mhm.
everything the teacher does matters. Everything the
Mhm.
teacher doesn't do matters here about
Yeah.
inclusion. So
Mm.
it's
I like that.
very simple things, but it makes a big difference in our learners' lives in terms of inclusion. So what is next? So we also received a comment from San about
Yeah.
feedback. So, feedback on
Mhm.
their responses are also generates a more inclusive environment in the classroom. So, feedback, giving feedback, receiving feedback shows learners their voice matter, right? It also
Mhm.
encourages participation to build a more inclusive classroom. And
Mhm.
what are your thoughts about this? About how can we give feedback about maybe feedback language or
Yeah.
about how it helps.
It's important to be positive when giving feedback, okay? Like you can be critical, but you can give a bit of a growth mindset. You can do some growth mindset modeling and help your learners understand that if you're if they're going to if you or they are going to criticize someone else's work, they can say how they can make it better. So um, maybe somebody's work isn't perfect, but you want to tell them how to make it better. So say something like, "Oh, I really liked the way that you designed your poster. I think you could work more on spelling because there are some mistakes. So why don't you give it to someone else next time to ask them for help and to check it or use an online dictionary?" So do feedback that gives someone something to do to get better, because then it becomes useful for them. And yeah, I think it's really useful to do that and to model that so that maybe peers, learners sitting next to other learners will feel like maybe they could give feedback on each other's work too. With writing, for example, writing's a good place to start. They can really help each other.
Yeah, and this maybe it's like feed forward, right? Not so about the
Yeah,
future,
yeah,
what they can do next time. That way, we
yeah,
support both reflection and growth, as you say, and it's also a conversation with the learners. So with the learners, how they can
yeah,
improve this next time. So there are
yeah.
also other ways we can also um, have some use some other ways to get feedback from our learners about our
Mhm,
lessons. Also, this is
mhm,
about learners' feedback to receive their feedback to help us improve.
mhm.
We can also use their feedback to help our lessons more inclusive. So, are there any other techniques? Let's ask our community members if they would like
Yeah,
to add any comments. So, how to make feedback more effective in an inclusive classroom? Or are there any other techniques that help you make your classrooms more inclusive?
yeah.
Um,
We would love to know, because this is Community Corner. This is where we want to celebrate all your comments and all the great interactions we've had in the group over the past few weeks. Yeah, so send us in anything you want to.
About Typhoon's question again about making a competition or group work more inclusive.
Uh-huh.
So, do you have any comments like tips to share For example, the first one I can think of when we have a competition, if there are different members in the group, um,
Mhm.
we can assign some role cards in group work, like timekeeper,
Mhm.
encourager, note taker, to reduce dominance and to make sure all learners take part one way or another.
Yeah, that's a really good technique because when I tend to do group work, and if I don't give a role, if I don't say who is going to be the person that puts their hand up and answers, then the same students, the most kind of typical students, will be the ones who always answer. And I'm really conscious in my class that I want to have some different people as the group leader who might normally not do that. People who are, let's call them the quieter voices in the classroom. So I would choose them to be group leader, and I would make sure that everybody gets a turn. That's the main thing. So I need to keep a note and think, okay, last week she was group leader and he has never been group leader. So this week I'm going to give him the group leader job. And that yeah, that makes it fair around the class. And I think that helps a lot because competition can get a bit crazy, right? Can get noisy. Um,
Yeah,
we don't want to create a classroom where there's five people shouting out the answers, but the other people are quiet. We want
yeah,
everyone to get that energy. Also, if there's some people that don't like that energy, because I understand that if there's a student who's quite sensitive to emotion or sensitive to noise. I had a student with ADHD who just really didn't flourish in that noisy environment. Um, then they don't have to be that group leader if they don't want to. So on the other hand, make it fair, but notice when someone really doesn't want to be the person that shouts out. And that's about knowing your learners, isn't it? Which we did actually talk about in a post as well. About knowing your learners is a good way to be inclusive.
yes, we also
Um,
asked you how you get to know your learners and how we
mhm.
find out about their needs. So we've received some responses. For example, Leila
Yeah.
mentioned through continuous formative assessment. So this is
Mhm.
very important. Thank you, Leila. So it really
Mhm.
helps to understand their needs in real time and also adjust accordingly.
Mhm.
Um, and it's about being responsive to
Mhm.
their needs. And Umaira mentioned warm up sessions is the best way to explore what they know already and what they want to know. So, both very relevant answers about formative assessment or about warm up. Would you like to comment on these, Melissa?
Yeah, I really like Lila's comment about formative assessment, because it really is, it helps us think about the fact that formative assessment is meeting the needs of every learner and not just using grades to give feedback. So formative assessment can really help if you've got a class with lots of different levels or students who can't do certain things as well as others. Formative assessment is about saying, you've done this well, and your next step is this. And that might not be the same starting point for that learner and that learner and that learner. So yeah, I really identified with what Lila said. I think that was great. I wonder what Umaida was meaning when she talks about warm-ups. Do you think she's talking about kind of at the start of the term when you get to know everyone, or in a class before you start learning a new topic?
I
Hmm.
think I thought it's about creating an atmosphere to activate their
Okay.
knowledge and
Right.
involving them from the very start. So, um,
Uh-huh.
and this then warm up exercises also a way to um, find out what they know about the topic. So
Yeah.
it doesn't necessarily have to be about this, but it could be also
Mm.
a way to find out about them. But yeah, there are also different ways to for us to check their understanding through formative assessment, and as we discussed, giving feedback, giving forwards, feed forward to help them how they can
Hmm.
uh, maybe using some exit tickets, some traffic lights
Yeah.
like red, confused, yellow, unsure, green, confident, or holding some regular learning cycles. So talking to students about how was learning for you this week, what helped you most, and then
Mm-hmm.
the behavior and
I've I've read all about exit tickets because I've been doing the course on inclusion and the course on motivating learners. Maybe some people here might not know what an exit ticket is. It's a perfect time for me to ask you, Shireen, what's an exit ticket? How does it create a positive learning environment? Why is it a good idea?
so at the end of the lesson, before after an activity, we can ask learners what they learned, what they thought, what they would like to ask more. So it could be anything. It doesn't have to be a long
Hmm.
answer. It could
Hmm.
be one word, one sentence, or one paragraph. But we can collect these anonymously. This also encourages all learners to share their feedback about the lesson or what they learned, depending on what we would like to collect from the learner.
Hmm.
We can do this regularly, so it could be part of our routine, maybe, or periodically. So, how do
Hmm.
you use exit tickets, Melissa?
Oh yeah, in the same way, and I saw a nice video online of a teacher using it, where they had post-it notes like these, but it could also just be old pieces of paper. And the teacher, as people were saying goodbye, walking out the door, because in this school the students changed classes every hour, so the students got up and walked out the door. They actually had to give the teacher their exit ticket to be
Nice.
able to go outside. So the teacher had all these physical pieces of paper with the comments about what
Mhm.
some students learned, what some students like or maybe didn't like, and that was really nice. So it works if the students change classes, but I know that in some schools the teachers change classes. So you
Then
might
the
want to ask everyone to pass to the front, for example. That
maybe
would
a
be a good
box.
idea.
But I think
A
also
box, yeah.
student and learners can also look at these notes together. Let's read what we wrote in the previous week, and
Yeah.
we can also involve them, engage them in this conversation. It's not just
Hmm.
from the learners. Together, we are a community.
Yeah.
So this could be one way. Yeah, we don't have much time, but I would like
No.
to highlight one more comment from Sharma about
Okay.
differentiation. So about differentiating lessons, also give attention to average, above
Hmm.
average. So all learners, when all students enjoy following instructions and be the first
Hmm.
in taking part in activities planned by me. So I really like the way Shoba mentioned when all learners enjoy following the instructions. I think this is really,
Hmm.
we give them a chance to, we need to make sure that we give equal attention to all learners and create a sense of belonging. And it's important to remember that it's not about differentiation, isn't about asking easy questions to some learners and
Hmm.
more difficult questions to some others. So it's offering the right kind of support and challenge for
Hmm.
everyone.
Yeah.
Um, so
Differentiation's a really great topic to find out about if inclusion is something you're interested in. I don't think we have time for anything else today, but I've enjoyed our community corner. It's really nice to look back on all the questions we've asked and all the replies you've given. So thank you to the community. We couldn't do this without you.
So, yes, we will be in touch in the community, and please keep posting and also sharing with others.
Mhm.
So, see you in another live event then. Thank you, Melissa.
Thanks, everyone. Goodbye. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye bye.